Right now, GM, in terms of the electric vehicle market, you have about 9-10% of the market. Tesla has about 63% of the market. 5 years from now, if you succeed, but everybody else has their own success in this space, what does that pie chart look like?
Well, we have said, just like we're the leader today, we're not going to cede our leadership position to anyone.
GM의 CEO 메리 베라는 GM이 2009년 파산으로 무너지고 난 뒤 2013년 말 자동차업계 최초로 여성 CEO라는 타이틀을 거머쥐었습니다. 그녀는 GM이 운영했던 워터포드 모트 고등학교와 제너럴 모터스 인스티튜트를 졸업했는데 특히 대학생 시절부터 GM에서 인턴을 하면서 18살인 어린 나이에 GM 공장의 제조 라인 품질 관리를 했었죠. 무려 30년이 넘는 회사 생활을 버티고 남성 위주의 자동차 산업에서 CEO 자리까지 올랐던 것입니다. 당시 미국에서도 유리천장을 깬 사료를 주목받았지만 그녀는 전혀 그런 관점으로 일을 하지 않았다고 말했습니다.
I have been at General Motors my entire career. And as Vince said, when I was 18, I started as a co-op student, meaning I would work for 3 months and go to school 3 months, and I did that for 5 years. My very first job at GM was being a quality inspector on the assembly line, inspecting the fenders and hood panels, and I learned working on an assembly line is hard work, and the people who do it are talented. But I also got to see the company and the world from their perspective.
Never approached it from that perspective. I've just, go in, work hard, do what needs to be done, build a strong team.
CEO가 되기 전부터 메리 베라는 가장 먼저 GM의 과거 이미지를 탈피하고 새로운 미래를 향해 나아가는 모습으로 변화하고자 노력했습니다. 엔지니어로 커리어를 시작해 글로벌 엔지니어링 부사장 자리까지 올라갔고 2009년에는 글로벌 인사 부사장직을 수락했죠. 인사 부사장직을 맡자마자 그녀는 올드 GM 이미지를 벗어던지기 위해 10페이지나 되는 드레스 코드를 단 2단어로 정리했습니다. 적절한 옷차림이었죠.
I mentioned that you were in HR, but you were not the typical HR manager. When you got to HR, I think you slashed something like 80% in the policy manual. You cut significantly the number of HR reports that have to be filled out. And I just wonder why you took that approach. Were you trying to break the culture at GM?
Well, it was right as we were coming out of the bankruptcy. So we very much wanted to drive a new culture and make sure that we were really engaging people, empowering them. One of the things, I think the dress code policy was like 10 pages long. And, we have people...
Really?
Yeah, no, yes. And, but we have people who interface with governments. We have people who are interfacing with their dealers. We have people that are working as assembly line workers. We have people who sit and work primarily on a computer, so a whole range. And so what we did is we said dress appropriately. And that was it.
업계에서 30년 넘게 일하면서 평판과 실력을 쌓아왔던 그녀에게도 CEO 데뷔는 평탄치만은 않았습니다. 2013년 그녀가 CEO 자리에 오르자마자 점화장치 결함으로 인한 대규모 리콜 사태와 이에 따른 청문회를 겪게 됩니다. 한 대당 57센트, 즉 하나 600원만 더 들어갔더라면 막을 수 있었던 문제였는데 이를 방관했기에 사망자가 124명이나 발생했었죠. 글로벌 엔지니어링 부사장 자리까지 올라섰었던 그녀였기에 이 문제를 모를 수 없었습니다. 하지만 청문회에서는 이에 대해 몰랐다고 증언했지만 뉴욕타임즈는 내부 문건을 통해 이미 3년 전에 이를 알고 있었다고 밝혔죠. 그리고 GM은 사상 최대 벌금인 35밀리언 달러를 받게 되었고 5개월 만에 GM 연간 판매량 2배가 넘는 2천만 대를 리콜하게 됩니다.
How about when you were vice president of global manufacturing engineering, 08 to 09, you knew nothing.
Correct.
And you still knew nothing when you were vice president of global human resources.
Correct.
You're a really important person to this company. Something is very strange.
GM knew about this problem in 2001. They were warned again and again over the next decade, but they did nothing.
That the tooling cost and price pieces are too high. What does that mean?
I find that statement to be very disturbing. If that was the reason the decision was made, that is unacceptable.
What you just answered is gobbledygook.
Did you review the documents that the GM submitted to the committee?
No, I did not. There was over 200,000.
2018년 11월 메리 베라는 강도 높은 구조조정을 시행했습니다. 북미에서만 공장 5곳을 폐쇄하고 해외 공장도 2곳을 폐쇄해 14,000명을 정리해고하겠다고 선언했죠. 이는 GM의 미래를 위한 과정이라 언급했지만 당시 대통령이었던 도널드 트럼프는 정부 보조를 받은 GM의 배신이라 강하게 비판했습니다. 지난 영상에 살펴봤듯 이후로도 GM은 세계 각지에서 철수하고 있죠.
We are in an industry that is transforming faster than I've ever seen in my 38-year career. And we're trying to make sure that General Motors is strong and that we're in a leadership position in the technologies like electrification, like autonomous vehicles, like connectivity, because that's what customers want. That's where the industry is going.
엄청난 구조조정을 강행했던 그녀는 2020년 EV데이에서 2025년까지 전기차 시장의 리더가 되어 테슬라를 따라잡겠다고 말했었죠. 이에 대해 테슬라 CEO 일론 머스크는 트위터를 통해 개선의 여지가 있어 보인다며 GM이 세운 판매 목표의 수정이 필요하다는 뉘앙스를 보였습니다.
Right now, GM, in terms of the electric vehicle market, you have about 9-10% of the market. Tesla has about 63% of the market. 5 years from now, if you succeed, but everybody else has their own success in this space, what does that pie chart look like?
Well, we have said, just like we're the leader today, General Motors has brands that they trust. We have the highest loyalty rating. We have manufacturing plants that are ready to go. And so when I look at our ability to scale, to serve customers, I think we're incredibly well positioned, and we're not going to cede our leadership position to anyone.
One of the fun conversations we've had over the years is about self-driving cars. And who is in the lead and where everybody is. And for a long time, people thought that maybe Waymo, Google was at the top and Cruise was coming up there. And a lot of people thought for a long time that Tesla was actually going to be way behind because they weren't using LiDAR, they were just using cameras. It feels like things have changed. How do you see it right now?
I wouldn't trade our autonomy position with anyone.
So if I'll let you claim that you're in the lead, if you like.
Yes, I like.
Order them afterwards.
Oh, you know,
because I'm sure you study this.
I do, but you know, the one thing in autonomous, I think you've got to look at who actually has vehicles on the road.
자율주행을 포기한다고 선언했던 포드와는 달리 GM은 자율주행 스타트업 크루즈를 인수해 테슬라와 함께 자율주행 시장을 형성하고 있습니다. 우버의 경쟁사인 리프트도 인수해 차량 공유 사업에도 진심인 모습을 보여주고 있죠.
This was one of the highlights of your career, and I want you to explain to us why.
Well, if you think about it, 90% of fatalities in the US are caused by driver error. So imagine a world where the vehicle pays attention all the time, knows all the traffic rules, isn't distracted or impaired. You know, when I did the ride, it was, you know, at first you're like, oh my gosh, there's no one in the front seat and the steering wheel's moving. But you quickly get and you see how capable the ride is. And it's a very confident, capable to the point you're like, yeah, I'll do this. And we've had so many people who have taken rides in Cruise in San Francisco. We're now the only company in a dense urban environment.
Oh, that looks like it.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And they just clicked open. I'm gonna try to plant a little camera here.
Starting your trip. Let's cruise.
Oh my gosh. This is incredible.
Here we go.
It's like a highlight of my career when you look at it, because we know what this technology can do.
All right, we're here.
Bye. That was incredible.
자, 이렇게 인턴 신화를 써내려온 GM CEO 매기 바라의 일생과 그녀의 생각을 살펴봤습니다. GM의 아름답지 못했던 과거 역사와 연결해본다면 과연 GM이 2025년까지 테슬라를 넘어설 수 있을까요? 댓글로 여러분의 의견을 적어주세요. 지금까지 미주연의 라이언이었습니다.